People in Turkey are voting today in one of the most consequential elections in the country's modern history. The presidential and parliamentary polls will close at 5 p.m. The race is between three candidates. Turkey's incumbent President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. However, Erdogan, who has been in power for more than 20 years, now faces his strongest challenge so far. 6 opposition parties have joined forces for the polls, and they have chosen opposition leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu as their unity candidate. While the race is predominantly between these two candidates, right-wing leader Sinan Oğan has also filed his candidature, something that will only cut Erdogan's prospects. Today's vote will decide not only who leads Turkey, a NATO country of 85 million people, but also how it is governed and where the economy is headed amid a deep cost of living crisis and the shape of its foreign policies. The Turkish politicians held their final rallies in the last hours of campaigning on Saturday. Erdogan, who is facing the toughest challenge ever in his 2 decades of power, was speaking at various neighborhood rallies in Istanbul, where he described the elections as a celebration for Turkey's future.
Çünkü CHP 14 Mayıs seçimlerini ülkemizin geleceğine, milletimizin kazanımlarına, devletimizin hedeflerine sahip çıktığımız bir demokrasi şöleni olarak görüyoruz. Ey Türkiye, ey İstanbul, ey Ümraniye, bu mücadelede bizimle misin?
Erdogan's campaign over the past month has focused on his government's achievements in the defense industry and infrastructure projects, and his assertion that the opposition would roll back such developments. Erdogan also held evening prayers in Istanbul's iconic Hagia Sophia hours before presidential and parliamentary elections. Scores of Erdogan supporters also gathered to accompany him during the prayers. During his term, Erdogan had changed the status of the iconic Byzantine-era monument from a museum to a mosque. Meanwhile, Istanbul's mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu held final rallies in Istanbul and urged people to vote for Kılıçdaroğlu.
Kavgayla, gürültüyle işi olanlara sevgili gençler, yüzünüz gülecek ve üniversiteleriniz özgün 6 liderinin bir araya gelmesinin de.
However, for many voters in Turkey, casting their votes in Sunday's closely contested elections will be an uphill task. The elections are being held at a time when the country is still battling with the effects of the powerful earthquake that killed more than 50,000 people. Erdogan's government has come under intense criticism over how it handled the disaster.
Başta milletimiz, devletimiz var olsun. Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımız başta olmak üzere Devlet Bahçeli, Hatay İl Başkanımız Sayın Alihan Döner başta olmak üzere Rabbim hepsinden razı olsun. Bize yerlerini, yuvalarını açtı ve hiç kimseye muhtaç etmedi Allah'ın izniyle. Yani onların emeklerini ne yapsak ödeyemeyiz.
Voter turnout in Turkey is traditionally high, showing continued belief in civic participation. However, if no presidential candidate secures more than 50% of the votes, a runoff will be held on May 28th. Ekrem Edi Gizeldere is a Turkey analyst and is now joining us live from Berlin. Ekrem, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What can the world look out for as polling begins in these highly charged elections?
It's still a very close race. The recent trends showed that none of the candidates will have more than 50%, so there will be most likely a second turn with a slight advantage for the opposition candidate Kılıçdaroğlu. And in the parliamentary elections, it is foreseen that the government coalition would have a majority, but whether this is an absolute majority is not clear either. So it's an election day with many uncertainties, and that is something new for Turkey because the previous elections were already decided before people voted.
President Erdogan's popularity has really dropped in recent months. Do you think that will reflect on how the Turkish people vote today?
Of course, I mean, this is one factor. His popularity is lower than in 2018. This is, as you already mentioned, due to the economic crisis that has been ongoing for now several years, with rising living costs, with very high inflation now over more than 1 year of around 100% as an average. Also, the earthquake of 6 February and the government response caused a lot of criticism of the government as of his leadership, that this centralization of power and one-man rule caused also many difficulties after the earthquake. But the other reason why this is such a close race today is that for the first time, the opposition is united. So the votes of the biggest opposition party, CHP, of Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu, they have not increased. They stay at around 25%, as also 10 years or 15 years ago. But what is different is that there are 6 parties, and together they will reach more than 40%, and that is new.
Let's talk about the opposition. The opposition is confident that it could spoil Erdogan's vote. Could that happen in this election, that a leader who has ruled for 20 years is toppled by the opposition?
I mean, at least the chance is there, and this also for the first time. As I said, it's not very likely that this will happen today in the first round. There will most likely be a second round on the 28th of May between the 2 strongest candidates, which will be President Erdogan and the leader of the opposition, Kılıçdaroğlu. It's still then 2 weeks to go, and a lot can happen in Turkey in 2 weeks, and in politics anyway. So it's very difficult to tell who will win then, because now the surveys say that there might be an advantage of about 2% for Kılıçdaroğlu, but this is in the range of the error margin, so it's still, everything is possible.
Ekrem, finally, and this is a quick one, is Turkey ready for Kılıçdaroğlu, and is Kılıçdaroğlu ripe for leadership or to be a president?
Yeah, I think that the country got used to him. He's running the party since 2010 and is the leader of the opposition, so to say, since 2018. I mean, he would anyway be a president in a transition phase back to the parliamentary system. And if the margin of his victory is relatively comfortable, then I think the result will be accepted, and both the population and the government will be ready to hand over the government to Kılıçdaroğlu.
Ekrem Eddie, thank you very much for your inputs and for talking to WION World is One today.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.